My name is Daryl Kwao. I'm in for Emmanuel Abuajiri. Now, the IMF says Ghana's program with the fund must be extended and is insisting that the decision should be taken before the end of the year. This follows the finance minister's insistence the program would only be extended if government fails to meet all the targets by close of this year. According to the fund, the proposed program extension has been influenced by setbacks in implementing critical reforms. Dr. Natalia Kolyadina is country representative of the IMF.
From our technical point of view, we can extend the program by 1 year, which means that the last test date is going to be in December 2018.
And not 2019.
Well, currently the last test date is in December 2017. If a program is extended by 1 year, it means that the last target date and performance criteria would be set for end December 2018. And then the mission will come early 2019 to complete the final review.
So possibly December 2018 is a possible option that we are looking at here.
Well, this is the option that we have been discussing. So, as I said, it is essentially the decision of a member country. It is the decision of the Ghanaian authorities whether to request program extension. Well, you see, in our program arrangements, we usually set performance criteria 1 year ahead. So I would say that we need the decision to be made before that.
Now, the World Bank is predicting some exciting times for the Ghanaian economy based on projected pickup in commodity prices. The slight decline in crude prices and some significant drop in cocoa prices have raised concerns about the performance of the economy going forward because of the heavy dependence on commodities. But the country representative to Ghana, Henry Kerali, says government should not be worried as the bank's surveillance points to good times for these commodities.
We anticipate commodity prices will, in the medium term, continue to increase. Ghana has significant reserves of oil and gas. Ghana is a strong exporter of gold and of cocoa as well. All of these are commodities that the prices are defined on international markets. As long as these prices in the medium term continue to recover, we will see a boost in the economy of Ghana. But at the same time, there needs to be efficiencies in revenue collection, internally revenue collection. There needs to be efficiencies in the utilization of public funds. All of these will lead to improvement of the economy and to improvement in the lives of the people of Ghana.
I don't know what your crystal ball is telling you, because I look at cocoa right now, I look at crude oil right now, and some will say there might be the need even to review the budget. But you still optimistic on that one?
We have to look beyond the weekly figures. If we look at the prices last year, this time last year, they would be significantly lower than they are now. And so if we look at a longer time period, rather than a few weeks or even a few months, we anticipate that in the medium term, 2, 3, 4 years, the prices will recover.
But I'm looking at this year, i.e. to your growth target.
Yes, that's what we mean. By the end of the year, we anticipate higher commodity prices.
Crude.
Well, speak of commodities, a senior researcher at Cocoa Board, Mohamed Fouad, has revealed Ghana has a capacity of producing 1.2 million tons of cocoa annually if the demand for the market is expanded. Ghana has fallen short of meeting its annual target for more than 5 years. Now, the 2015-2016 crop season, for instance, saw Ghana bag only 690,000 metric tons of cocoa from a target of 850,000 tons. The shortfall is attributed to poor managerial policies of the Ghana Cocoa Board as well as unfavorable weather conditions. Prince Apia has more.
Farmers in the Tibiabu community are predominantly cocoa farmers. The farmers have introduced other cropping as part of best practices to cushion themselves during the off-season of cocoa farming. But they have had to sell at extremely low cost to middlemen due to unavailability of market. Mohammed Haruna is a farmer.
The price of our products sometimes you grow plantain, nobody will buy. Sometimes you grow pepper, they say pepper mekwebu, so you won't get any correct price. So my problem is I should beg the government so that any produce which come from our products will be bought by the government. Because that middleman and woman, they kill us. They are killing farmers. Because of that, most of the farmers or youngsters, they don't want to go into farming because so if the government will help us to buy our products there, everybody would like to go to farm.
The 2015-2016 crop season saw Ghana bag only 690,000 metric tons of cocoa from a target of 850,000 metric tons. The figure represents a drop from 740,254 metric tons the previous year. 900,000 metric tons of cocoa targets for 2016-2017 also could not be met. Senior researcher at Cocoa Board, Mohamed Fouad, tells Love Business Ghana can optimize production to support the economy despite the challenges.
It falls directly into the cry and government's policy that Ghana has to get back to optimal production levels. I travel across this country widely within the cocoa belt, and I know when we are serious, we can produce over 1.2 million tons of cocoa. The challenge has been, which we are confronted with now, has to do with the demand side. So if you produce more, what then happens to the market? Because the more you produce, we say the higher the supply, the lower the demand, and that's a function of price. So we have to look at it as a comprehensive strategy for government. Yes, we want to produce more, but what about the demand markets?
For Joy Business, Prince Apia reporting.
Well, from the cocoa crop to the cashew crop, and government is coming up with the new reforms to make cashew a leading cash crop in the country aside from cocoa. According to the report by the German Development Agency, cashew is currently the leading non-traditional export product in Ghana, contributing just about 54% of export revenues. Deputy Agric Minister William Ejapong Kwetu tells Joy Business the ministry is setting up a cashew development project which will equip farmers with the needed research tools to improve yields and quality of cashew nuts by 2020.
Cashew production in Ghana. Cashew to me is mainly used as snacks, and it is positioned to me for the middle and the upper class. But cashew shouldn't be food or snack that should be reserved for the middle and the upper classes. No, it should be available for everybody to use, and that is because of the way it is produced. It becomes so expensive that the ordinary person cannot buy it. And Ghana has the potential. Because of climate change that we are seeing now, the forest zone is gradually being depleted, and we are getting more of the transition zones. Cashew does very well in the transition zone. That is the weather between the forest and then the savanna zone, and that is where cashew does very well. And so in Ghana, for instance, we grew cashew in Brown Harbour region through to some part of the Ashanti region, and then the Volta region, and then some part of Western region. The dry parts of Western region, Western region is basically forest, but the dry part of Western region can also grow cashew. Now, in their countries, that's what I believe, they cannot grow cashew, so they'll have to rely on us to get cashew, knowing the nutrients and the value of the minerals in cashew. They need it, and we also need it. So, of course, basically they are here to help us grow cashew so that they can also do some business out of it. For instance, the 13 processing plants established in Ghana here, the largest one is for the Brazilian government, and that alone has about 30,000 metric tons capacity. The rest of the 12 have a total capacity of 35,000. So in all, we have about 65,000 metric ton processing capacity in Ghana. The Brazilian one having a chunk of about 30,000 metric tons. They need the raw materials to feed their factory. Every year, the quantity of cashew, raw cashew that they get to feed their plant is just about 6,000 metric tons, because Ghana 6,000 metric tons, which forms only about 20% of their installed capacity for processing. The rest they have to source it from outside, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Burkina Faso. And so they thought that, what are you doing in Ghana? And we said, okay, we have the capacity to do this. They have tested our land, they know it is good.
We are shifting focus to the telecom sector. It all started as a small value-added service provider in the telecom sector by 3 young graduates from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. SMSGH has now grown to become one of the major players in the sector, providing services such as bulk short messages and alerts to not only indigenous but multinational companies. After over 10 years of operations, Haptel International, based in Kenya, has acquired a majority stake in the company, and SMSGH has now rebranded as Haptel. There's more in this report.
After over 10 years of operations, Haptel International, based in Kenya, which has acquired a majority stake in SMSGH, has now taken on a new rebranded identity, Haptel. Haptel is the new name in Ghana's telecom industry, which promises to deepen its growth. The chairman of Haptel, Hans Nielsen, spoke to Joy Business after a short ceremony to launch the new brand.
Number one is that as SMSGH, the GH limits the name to Ghana, and we're going Pan-African. We're starting out in a couple of countries, but the intent is to go across various countries. So clearly that was a problem with the name. The second issue is we talk about mobile communications, which is bigger. We are offering mobile communications. SMS is just a subset of it. So again, by having SMS, there's another limitation. So we kind of had to change the name because it was limiting the business to something which is misleading, really. It's a third reason, which was an opportunity to put everything in under one umbrella, which we had already, but it was not seen that way. If you look at the brands and the sub-brands, it was an opportunity to make it much clearer.
So, what added value is Haptel bringing into the industry after the rebranding? Alex Bram is the chief executive and co-founder of Haptel.
We see a second wave coming where we want to usher businesses into a second wave where it becomes more interactive. So now we've started with things like mobile banking. So now you hear on the airwaves every bank having a short code to say dial this number and you can access your account. It's no more just alerts. Now you can actually transact and interact with systems, right? And we want to take this to as many businesses as possible. So imagine you're able to book an appointment for taking a photo for your passport just by dialing a number, or getting an alert that your driver's license has expired and there's a link inside it. You just click and pay for it, and the system will tell you, okay, you paid for it, pick up your driver's license at this XYZ point at this time. You're able to look up the appointment system or yourself. So this is the challenge we're throwing both to ourselves and to businesses.
The company hopes to be the market leader in Africa's telecom sector in the short to medium term.
We'll remain in this space because today, 17th May, marks World Telecommunication Day. The celebration of the World Telecommunications and Information Society Day is deemed significant because it affords key players such as government, private sector, civil society organizations, and the general public within the telecom and ICT space the opportunity to recount the enormous benefits being derived from the digital revolution in ICTs to our people. Now, earlier on AM show with Mama V. Oso-Boaji, the Deputy Communications Minister, George Anda, shared his thoughts on the day as well as the ongoing investigations at the National Communications Authority.
As far as telecommunications infrastructure is concerned, I think it's one sector that, if you take Ghana, you can say that various administrations, I mean both NDC and NPP, have laid the proper infrastructure as far as the proper steps or the foundations as far as infrastructure and policy are concerned. And so this is an area that I think that we will commend both administrations and the good people of Ghana. It's a very vibrant industry. The most exciting thing is that going forward, there's going to be a lot of innovation, there's going to be a lot of connection, there's going to be a lot of technology that's going to drive every aspect of our lifestyle. I mean, we're going to play smart, we're going to work smart. So if you take from e-commerce, if you take from entertainment, you take from health, you take from agric, there's ICT as the bedrock for which all these other industries are going to grow. And I think that as far as Ghana is concerned, the big thing is about data. Data is the next big thing that's going to happen to Ghana, and we have the right infrastructure, we have the right players, and the market is going to see that boom, and of course Ghanaians as a whole are going to enjoy.
So what's going to happen today?
Well, today there's a function at the NCA. There's going to be a flag raising ceremony, and there's going to be a forum. So there's going to be the talk, there's going to be media engagement, and of course the right things that are happening in the industry, going for the new things going forward, are going to be discussed at the NCA today.
You mentioned the NCA. I didn't want to take you there, but yesterday the Daily Guide had some news on the NCA about some misappropriation of funds, funds for the purchase of something diverted to individual accounts.
It's unfortunate that when we should be celebrating positive things within the industry, we are hit with that news. That said, we're all aware that the President has said that due process will always be followed, and I'm aware that there's an investigation currently going on. Of course, after the investigation and the full facts are disclosed, we'll be able to come up with an opinion on what the issue is. But that said, nobody who's placed in a position of leadership to serve should abuse those opportunities, and the President has made that very clear.
And we'll have more on activities to mark World Telecom's Day in our subsequent bulletin. For now, I want to turn to one of our top stories this afternoon. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, says government is committed to coming up with practical steps to improve inefficiencies at the ports. Dr. Bawumia was speaking at a conference dubbed Improving Port Efficiency and Trade Facilitation in Accra. Now, he said government will explore ways to reduce man-made bottlenecks at the ports to improve revenue generation. According to him, government would need to have a clear understanding of challenges at the ports before coming up with appropriate interventions.
Ghana's ports have seen some improvements over the years. We have created new berths, built new terminals, upgraded equipment, and implemented several reforms to raise the efficiency of the ports, to facilitate trade and improve revenue mobilization. In spite of all these efforts, most users at our ports will agree that we are far from achieving the level of port efficiency that we all wish to see to make Tema or Takoradi the ports of choice in the sub-region. There is still queuing for berth space. Ship turnaround time is far higher than the average for most regions around the world. In a 2013 study conducted by renowned researchers Brian Slack and Claude Comtois on ships' time in port, an international comparison, this study shows that the average time in port for vessels in Europe is about 25 hours. For vessels in East and North Asia, it's about 17 hours. South Africa is 64 hours, and I'm told that the port of Tema did about 103 hours in 2016. Clearly, we have some long way to go. We have a long way to go. Our government would work with the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and the stakeholders towards the realization of the objectives of the Tema and Takoradi port expansion projects, as this is in consonance with our rapid industrialization agenda. On the cargo clearance front, improvements have been very slow. Cargo dwell time is still very high compared to ports in South Africa, let alone talk about Asia or even Europe. We still have delays in the clearance of goods and the attendant cost of such demurrage and rent. In 2016, shippers or importers paid an estimated amount of some $100 million in demurrage charges. I am told that the last time a similar estimate was conducted in 2013, the demurrage amount was $75 million. Whilst government likes revenue, this is not the kind of revenue we want to build this country. It is a punitive cost, an inefficiency cost. It is an avoidable cost, and it only goes to demonstrate that shippers are not releasing containers to shipping lines in good time.
Some news just coming into us. Shareholders of Tal Oil are disappointed with management over non-payment of dividend for 3 years. Tal's inability to pay the dividend for some time now generated some serious arguments at the meeting with shareholders in Accra today. Now, the oil exploration firm over the last 3 years has failed to pay dividend because of what the company attributes to rising debts and declining crude prices. Now, most shareholders who spoke at the meeting did not mince words by taking on management over the development, but Group Chief Executive Paul McDad, however, says they are committed to address this problem. My colleague George Rafe is covering that beat for us. He joins us with more on that. George, so much happening where you are. Tell us about it.
Well, Darrell, you are right on that one, and it was indeed a serious discussion here. More of an investor engagement with those retail investors here in Ghana, and they were particularly concerned about the fact that, listen, for 3 years, they invested in Tal Oil to ensure that they get some good returns at the end of the day. So for all these years, nothing has come up. That is not good enough, and management has to do something about it. But for the group CEO, or the new CEO of Tal Oil, his argument was that, oil prices hasn't been doing that well. They've been declining. And there were some monies that they took over the years to try and invest in the business and in 10. So their immediate focus was to, how can we invest in the business to grow the business and rather grow your shareholding? And that was Paul McDade's, more of response to the shareholders at this particular meeting, which one might say that covering this thing over the past 4 years, this has been one of the most interesting general meeting or investor engagement with those retail investors here in Ghana. Now, Darrell, let's do something on Jubilee and 10. The promise by the new group chief executive of Tal was that they should be through with the problems with the Jubilee field before the close of this year, and also for the fact that when it comes to 10, by August this year, they should start exporting gas to the generation plant in Takoradi for onward power generation in the country. So the good news is that 10 should very soon start exporting gas to their trouble plant for power generation in the country, Darrell.
George, did the planned shutdown of Jubilee come up?
It came up, Darrell, and it looks like there will still be more series of shutdowns. The plan or the argument here, Darrell, is that it won't be done, for instance, shutting it for like maybe 5 months or maybe 3 months. So there will be brief shutdowns as we go on till the end of the year. And from the group CEOs, and my understanding from the group CEO, Darrell, it means that this development might really last for a while before they end it. But his promise was that before the close of this year, this thing should be over, and going into 2018, his argument is that George telling us that they have learned their lessons, and going forward, they believe that going into next year, they will be over. It was a small technical problem, and that they should bring it to an end very, very soon, Darrell.
Sure, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of discussions on the aftermath of that shareholders meeting in our subsequent bulletins. Thanks very much indeed, George Rafe. Now, pork is the most widely consumed meat in the world. However, local production, especially in commercial quantities, is just beginning to see a boom. Well, one entrepreneur has set out to rebrand the pork industry in Ghana. He's Ernest Mensah, owner of Menace Farms. He was a car dealer until he realized a viable market for pork. Ernest Mensah is our feature on today's edition of the Joy Business Van. Here's a teaser. En route to a Kubifa near Bodjas in the central region, we are on our way to Menace Farms, a piggery owned by Ernest Mensah. Operating a piggery was not the original plan of Ernest. He actually was a car dealer, but business was slow.
There was a time when, the car business wasn't moving. I was on the internet and I was like looking for what to do next, So I came across some chunk of money, millions being used for importation of food in the country. So I was like, oh, if they are importing all this amount of money, food in the country with millions of dollars, maybe we can sell food too and then we can make some profit.
Enna's quest to explore opportunities in the food business will lead him to discover the potential of pig farming.
When I went around, I realized everybody was doing the same thing. People were putting water in. It wasn't to my satisfaction. So I took the bold step, and then through a friend of mine, I went to South Africa to go and study professional pork producing at BTA, for 3 weeks. And then I came, and honestly, it has really helped me.
That was a year ago. Ernest wanted to turn around the local pork industry, which is being affected by competition from imported products. He noticed the manner in which pigs were kept locally was a major turn-off. Now, all this talk about pork is making me go hungry already. Well, that'll be it for the Joy Business Marketplace, rather. The Joy Business will come up later on Business Live. Stay tuned. My name is Darryl Carl. Thanks for your company.